Welcome to the Rock Solid Families podcast. I am Linda Hutchinson here with the Girl Power Half Hour. Ladies, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah. Thanks for letting me come back. I wasn't here last time. You guys did it solo. You did it amazing. So
you were greatly missed.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thanks. But again, if you're just now listening for the first time to Girl Power Half Hour, this is the Rock Solid Families podcast. But once a month, we bring the girls in, we kick Merle out. And so I have with me Bridgitte Price, who is our adolescent specialist here at Rock Solid Families and our assistant director. And then I have our marketing director and admin, Jenna Helton. Mm-hmm. And both of them are moms. We're all three moms with different wide ranges. You know, ladies, think about this. We have in our families ages 33, 34 to 4. So we got the range going on here. So today, what are we talking about, ladies?
Parenting anxious children.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Hot topic, very hard.
Yes.
It is
Hot
hard.
topic. And one, tell us a little bit what you've been doing online with the study you're doing about that, Bridgitte.
So I've mentioned this previously where we were trying to get people to sign up and be involved, and it ended up being a good turnout. So I've been doing a book study with a book called Brave, and it's all for teen girls with anxiety. I would say, though, even if you're not a teen and you have anxiety, I'm 30 and I still learned from it. So I've been meeting weekly with middle school, high school age girls virtually and just processing through what is anxiety, what part does Satan play in anxiety, and just understanding like the brain behind it. I feel like that helps us understand what we can do to help work with it.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we do that, we want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Maxwell Construction and Casey's Outdoor Solutions and the Hoosier Ice House for their support of what we do here at the Rock Solid Family Podcast, and also Rock Solid Families. If you have no idea who we are a faith-based ministry coaching organization located in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio area. We do work with individuals and couples and families. We work with teens. We work with whole families, trying to help them really get strong, get healthy, using God and His Word. So if we're new to you, if someone shared this show and you have no idea who we are, we would love for you to check us out at rocksolidfamilies.org. So a couple announcements that are coming up we wanted to talk about. How about for you, Jenna, share a little bit what's coming up that we should remember since you are a marketing director.
Yes.
Here's your chance.
Here you go.
Yes, so we have our final week of Families Rock parenting series happening in Batesville, which will be next week this week.
Yeah.
On Tuesday.
Which would be February 25th, is that right? Yeah.
Yes, February 25th at Batesville Intermediate School from 6 to 8, and we will be talking about parenting in a tech-heavy world.
Yeah, healthy relationships was last week.
Yes,
yeah. So we're going to be talking all about technology, and really we're going to talk about technology today, aren't we, Bridgitte, and really the influence it has. What else is coming up next month that we should be
Am I going to get the date correct?
Yeah,
I
we'll
always
see.
butcher this. So our annual banquet is coming up on March 13th. I used to say March 15th. March 13th. And it's from 6:30 to 9. It's going to be at the Higher Ground Conference and Event Center, which is on West Harrison, Indiana. Yeah. So if you're interested in sponsoring, we are still looking for sponsors, or you're welcome to host a table, and that would just require you to gather up 8 people total, including yourself, and invite them to sit at your table to hear more about what we are, what we do, how God's been working through our ministry to impact all the areas around us. And
we were just working on that today, and it's going to be a great evening. We are so excited. We got some really fun things planned, and you don't have to table sponsor or host. You can just attend. And so if you are interested in doing that, if you just hit the website rocksolidfamilies.org, it will ask you right away if you'd like to attend the banquet, and you can just reserve, and the seats are free. There is a free dinner involved in this, and so we would just love for you to come. If you're curious about Rock Solid Families, just join us on March 13th at Higher Ground.
Yeah.
So, background. Tell us a little bit about where this topic came from, ladies.
I'll let you go, Jenna.
Okay. Well, I was just saying, thinking, parenting an anxious child for me is still like kind of new territory. I feel like my son is still, he's very young. He's 6, but he's kind of in that stage where he's becoming like more aware and conscious of not just like the world around him, our changing family dynamics, what other people are saying about him or what they think about him. So there's like all these like little anxious thoughts that come with being 6 that you don't really think about. And so like I've talked with Linda a lot about how to process that as a parent. And Bridgette's given me some advice too, but I know Bridgitte has a little more experience working with like some of the middle school age students and kind of the statistics behind that.
So Connor is kindergartner?
Yes.
Okay. So let's just say this right up front, Mom and Dad. Transition times are hard for kids.
Yes.
Period. Right. Whether it be a new school, whether it be a new home, whether it be a new schedule, whether like maybe the parents have divorced and now he's got 2 homes.
Yeah.
All those things are transitions, and they could be good transitions. It could be Mom and Dad got married. It could be that you moved to a new house that you're building. It could be a new school because you're in 1st grade now or whatever. But those transition times naturally bring anxiety.
Yes, I feel like a red flag to always tell if your child is more anxious or worrying. If they're asking a lot of questions about the same topic in a lot of different ways, they're worrying about it, you know? So,
but it's natural. And you don't have to go and get all worked up. I was teasing Jenna before. I think of the story about Chicken Little. The sky is falling, the sky is falling. And so as a mom, a young mom especially, you guys, your Berkeley is 4, Connor is 6. And so as a young mom, it's really hard to know, like, oh my gosh, are they normal? Is this normal? It is normal. And so we don't want to lose our ever-loving mind about it. We want to really handle it in a way that convinces them and it helps them feel secure and safe. Like, you're going to be okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
I feel like something I've been working with girls and saying is... Sorry, I feel like I'm clear through. Excuse me. A lot of times if someone is saying they're anxious, more times than not, like, have them name 3 other emotions that they're feeling in that moment. And those might be bigger than the anxiousness, but they're using, society has made it where we're using anxiety to define a lot of different feelings that might not be it. So
for sure. Yeah. And I want to say this because it's not in our notes, but I don't want to forget. And I was looking for the book. If you're looking for a good read on this topic, I highly encourage you to get the book, The Anxious Generation, because it's all about, like you said, it's becoming a phenomenon. Like, it's becoming contagious. Like, oh my gosh, anxiety is kind of like a buzzword now. Oh, I have anxiety. I got to go see a counselor, right? I need to be on medication. And so it's like, why all of a sudden there's this increase in anxiety, and a lot of it is a social contagion, and the book The Anxious Generation really describes that.
Good. Because I feel like that is what we're saying. I have some teenage girls that I see who they know that the overthinking, worrying has been something that's part of their life for a while, but they still feel like they need to hear from the doctor, you are diagnosed with anxiety. And just kind of talking through that, what will that gain you, you know? But
what's the diagnosis going to do?
Like what I'm sure, I've not read that book yet, but I'm sure it talks about that and just like the social norms that kids are falling into from social media.
We have been doing our Families Rock class in Batesville, and we do this same class, by the way, as an intensive every month. So if you've missed the Batesville series, that was free dinner, free childcare, free programming. We do offer it every month at the last Saturday of the month. The next one is going to be, as you're listening, would be in March 29th, but from 8:30 to noon in the Larchburg Firehouse. But we talk about the whole idea of technology, and when we hand a child over a phone, that you lose the opportunity to be the primary voice in your child's life. And so what they're doing is they're turning to other anxious kids. They're turning to Google and the world that can tell them whatever they want to hear. Their itching ears want to hear, instead of a parent who maybe has a little bit more wisdom, a little bit more insight. And so just keep that in mind. And it doesn't have to be just a phone. It could be a tablet. It could be a computer, a gaming system, because they have the internet on there now, a smart TV. like you're really suscepting your child to the anxiousness, this contagion we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like we talk about that in our book study and call it co-rumination. Like if you're just swimming in it and soaking in it. Co-rumination.
Yeah.
Because rumination would be when you're sitting in it, soaking in it by yourself.
Yeah.
You're not like having anyone speak truth into it. But co-rumination is when you go to a friend who jumps on that wagon with you and you both just like wallow in it, swim in it. And we see that a lot with teenagers, middle schoolers. So that's a challenge that we'll get to, but a challenge that I've been talking to the teenage girls about is that getting you anywhere? Yes. Like, so I really would encourage you as parents to make sure who are your children going to when they are running on those anxious loops or worry loops. Like, are they just soaking in it? Or are we speaking truth into it?
Or what are they watching? Yeah. Sometimes they'll ruminate by going to YouTube and they'll literally type in anxious teenagers and they'll get all of these TikTok videos and such and like Instagram reels.
And I was going to say too, even for parents who might be struggling with their own anxiety, like who are you talking to about it? Who are you processing it with? Because like one of my best friends is a counselor and she, you know, has her own own thoughts to process. But it's just funny because we always joke around with each other like, well, I'm coming to you. And she's like, well, I'm coming to you. And now we're both like feeding off of each other. So I'm like, this can't be great.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't going to end well. Yeah, for sure. So tell us a little bit, let's talk a little bit, Bridgitte, about the parts of the brain that we can tap into, that sometimes we do tap into in anxiety, and what we really need to tap into. Because there's several parts of the brain, but we're going to focus on two.
Right, yeah. So honestly, whenever I had heard about brain science, even in grad school, different trainings, there's the 5. I feel like you've mentioned that before, and it always went way over my head. Like, and so I feel like when I heard it explained this way, it finally just like made sense, and I feel like this is the way that I explain it. But there's 2 parts to your brain that we're going to talk about, is the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. So the prefrontal cortex is the part, I call it like the calm part of our brain, where we are, and that's what's taking care of all of our emotions. Even just us right now, we're working out of our like prefrontal cortex.
We're
not
trying.
we're not like freaking out. We're calm, just having conversation. Most of the time throughout the day when you're working, I hope that's a place that many people are at, or just in conversations with your best friend. But when we are anxious or the worry starts, we go to the worry part of our brain, and that is the amygdala. So there's 2 parts that make up the amygdala, and that kind of was eye-opening to me too, because that's a part of our brain that's like working double time. So the amygdala is notorious for false alarms. So God created us in a way where that is our part of our brain when we're like, are we safe, not safe? Like someone's banging on the door, what do I do? Like, or driving on the snowy roads this morning. I was definitely in my amygdala part of my brain. And so God created us that way to help us identify when we are safe or not safe.
Right.
But then Satan, obviously, in his like creative way, uses that to constantly make us like question everything, you know, and that's where it starts becoming like notorious for false alarms. We're constantly, every time we're anxious, I want you to think about when you're listening to this, like, when was the last time you were anxious about something, and were you going like 100 miles per hour? You know, like, were you up here and you sunk down that spiral loophole that we all have done, you know? And then that is where Satan comes in. So I feel like what God intended for good, like a part of our brain that was there to help us when protect us. Yes. Satan comes in and like makes us run with that. And we've said this before, but I heard this at our Eve Center training, and someone had said Satan talks to us in question marks, but God talks to us in periods. And I often think of that, like when we are spiraling and we're in our loophole, we are only working out of the worry part of our brain. So I want you to like recognize that when you hear that. When you're doing that, you're not helping yourself. Like, we're only worrying and we're questioning everything.
I want to talk about those alarms, because I want you to think about the days. You guys, I'm a little older, but even when I was in school, we had fire drills.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? We had fire drills. And the reason for fire drills is that those little kindergartners, when they would hear an alarm, wouldn't freak out, right?
Yeah.
Because immediately the amygdala would like, danger, danger, we got to run, we got to hide.
Yeah.
And so what they've done is they've done this every month so that even a kindergartner will start to realize, okay, when there's a fire alarm, this is what we do. We calmly get out of our chairs, we line up, we wait for our teacher to lead us out of the building. You know, we don't like, fire, the house is on fire, you know, we run out and like trample people.
Right.
And so we do that to try to condition our brain past the fear, right? Past the alarm. And that's what we've got to do to our brain for anxiety, is we've got to condition ourselves of, when there is snowy roads, I'm not going to die, right?
Yes.
When I get a sniffle, I don't have cancer.
Right.
Like, we've got to help ourselves to try to get down. I always talk about bringing the temperature down. Like, the sky is not falling. You are not dying, okay? That you can kind of start to rest in your thoughts and not get out of control.
Yeah.
And just know, like, that part of our brain, like what you're talking about, does not think or reason. So if you're trying to come up with like, what do I do? Oh my gosh, like that's not going to happen when you're freaking out like that.
Yeah.
And we see that in our kids, like when you might be punishing them or what have you, and they're just like kind of going out of control. Like we know we can't talk through with it in that exact moment. 'Cause, and we see that in the schools. And I know later on we'll give examples that could be applied in what I've seen in schools too. But yeah, I think it's important to understand that, especially if you have a child who's anxious. And more times than not, if your child is anxious, one of their parents might be or have like similar worrying tendencies. I will own that in our house.
I also think about putting your finger on a stove. Okay. When you put your hand, which I've done before, on a hot stove, not knowing that the burner's still on. You don't have time to sit there and go, I wonder what I should do right now. This really hurts. Maybe I should take it off. You go like, ow, right? It's so instinctive. That's your amygdala firing up to protect you, right? And it's designed for that. But it can get out of control and it can be a runaway train.
Yes, and I think that's where it gets a slippery slope, because now the more we let ourselves loophole and spiral and run that amygdala loop, like the more we are teaching our brain, this is what we do whenever we go to the doctor, this is what we do whenever we make a phone call, or some of the kids are social anxiety, this is what we do. That's not what we do, and we have to teach our brain the right way of handling it.
So let's talk more about the internal and external categories, what kids get anxious about. You know, Jenna, you want to kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, my son is 6. So never did I think that I'd be at this point in parenting where he has, I wouldn't say anxiety, but anxious thoughts. And sometimes they seem so silly, but kind of going back to like the science behind it. Like I was talking with his doctor about this, and they explained like the prefrontal cortex of a 6-year-old, especially kids younger, they're not fully formed. They're not fully developed. So they
Until
don't.
their mid-20s.
Yeah. So they don't have that like,
reasoning,
reasoning, and they don't react, like they can't critically think as quickly as adults can. And so sometimes it's a long process to talk him through, you know, everything's okay. And so we've kind of gotten to this point where I call them, he has what I call will you pray for me moments, which are so sweet, but then I like that's like a sign for me that he's worried. And so like he recently had the stomach bug, little 24-hour thing, and he is in our half bathroom like about to get sick, and he's like, Mom, will you pray for me? And I'm like, yeah, buddy, what's up? He's like, just pray that I don't get sick anymore. And I was like, I like, you know, had to like think to myself like, okay, how do I like tell him like I can't make that not happen?
I can't promise you that.
Right. So we prayed, and you know, he still got sick, but like just little things like that. Or like he heard some story about like a bear attack on some show or something. So this is probably like a year or two ago, and we're laying in bed at night.
For bears.
Yes. And he was like, Mom, can you pray that I never get attacked by a bear.
Oh, God, love them.
And I'm like, yeah, buddy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
we can for sure pray about that.
Yeah.
And so, and even like in like the spring when there's like bad weather, he gets really anxious about like tornadoes. But I think that stems from me. Like I have really bad anxiety when it comes from like weather, you know, like, cause I don't know, like we've talked about it before. My husband works third shift and I swear that it only ever tornado storms at night where we live, right?
It
So
does feel like that.
it does. So I'm always like, okay, I got everything that I need. Connor's in bed, but if he, you know, if the alarms go off, I got to get us downstairs. And so he's probably feeding off of that. But
maybe a little bit.
But yeah, so it's just like little things that like he picks up on. Like I said, he's more aware. You know, he might think that people don't like him because like he's very lovable and sociable, but if somebody doesn't want a hug, he takes it so personally and he's like, well, they must not like me. I'm like, that, you know, that's not necessary, buddy. But
I remember our oldest when he was like 5. Every night at prayer, he would always, his prayer was, never let there be a fire, robber, tornado, or flood. Like, and he would say it so fast, you had to like figure out what those words were.
Yeah.
But like that were his 4 fears: fire, robber, tornado, or flood. Like that was, and it kind of like had a little rhythm to it. But the fact that that was what was rolling around in his head, right? And it was just funny how, like you said, maybe watched a show about bears or maybe saw the news about tornadoes. And it's just crazy.
Yeah. I feel like when you were giving your examples, Berkeley has been sick for literally like off and on 3 weeks now. And she has a stomach bug currently, or we're hoping that's what it is. But she was at the doctor this morning, and so she's gone to the bathroom so many times like it hurts at this point. And so she was at the doctor. She's usually like golden child at the doctor. Like they always give her tons of compliments. Not today.
Not today.
Today, Berkeley was like screaming and saying, I want to go home. When really, like she said, I'm scared to go to the bathroom at the doctor. I want to go to the bathroom at home, you know. And
God love her.
yeah, and I've never seen her like that, you know. When you were talking, I almost got teary-eyed because it like made me think like, gosh, like she just needed peace, you know. She just needed me
She
to
doesn't feel good.
her.
She wants her home.
Yes, that it
She's scared of what's happening. Like I remember scared of getting sick physically because I didn't like the feeling.
That
right?
is a big fear. I feel like
and so it's like, oh, please don't. I don't want to puke. I don't want to puke. You know. And so it does. It causes anxiety.
Well, I feel like what made me think of this too is when I worked with the teenage girls, a lot of them said, and there's like 15 different girls, so I had them all share like, what are your things that you worry about? And they all said worrying about grades at school, which there is like there are a lot of like good opportunities at school nowadays, but then there's all this added pressure of like we have to do this and what have you. But I feel like they said grades, worrying about what other people thought of them, worrying about what people thought, like how they looked and dressed. And so when we think about that, we can separate it into internals and externals. So externals are more of the things that those might be what your child is really worried about, like trauma. It's a lot of things that your child that happened to your child that they had no control over. So like trauma,
getting sick.
Getting
Tornado.
sick, like what people have to say about them, those kind of things. And then this is another area where Satan takes what God planned for good and tries to manipulate it is then they start attacking themselves. So a quote that I heard from the book that we're doing is anxiety is anger turned inward. And I feel like what she means by that is this statement, like attacking themselves, like these really good strengths. Like a lot of times people who are anxious or worry really care about people, you know, like they would stand in this room and notice if someone's being left out and they will go see them, you know? And so then let's say they're in a room and no one notices that they're the one that's left out, truly because teenagers are pretty selfish, you know, like just thinking about themselves. They would take that and turn it inward and think like, oh, well, no one cares about me. When instead of just saying like, gosh, like God really gave me that gift that I'll always notice someone. So I want you to like be aware of that with your kids too and speak truth into what are those like God-given strengths that they have.
So you mentioned anger, and I want to kind of speak to that because research kind of tells us that women and men respond differently to anxiety. So for anxiety, it becomes more sadness, can even turn into depression, and kind of worry and fear. Guys, it manifests itself more as anger. And so when you have a reactive kid or a teen boy or an adult man that are getting anger, they say they have an anger problem, they really have an anxiety problem. And it just manifests itself as anger. So just kind of keep that in mind. And here's the thing. We do not want anxiety to call the shots, okay? We have got to grab a hold of that and not let it consume us and control our decisions, our plans. And so as a parent, we don't want to let that child's anxiety call the shots. Please, mom and dad, do not let them stay home from school when they're anxious about a math test or a PE unit they're doing. You're just feeding the anxiety.
Absolutely.
And you're not helping them build resilience and overcome the anxiety, okay? I remember a child who didn't like flush toilets. And so they would hold and hold and hold because they didn't want to have that flush toilet. And it's hard because it's like, okay, there's a lot of flush toilets around here, you know? And so the point is that we want to help them build resilience and help them understand, I get it that you're anxious, okay? But we'll flush it, we'll be done quick, you know? But you can't let them like pee their pants because they don't want to go to the restroom.
I feel like an example that I saw a lot when I was working as a counselor at the school, and we still see it in our offices now, where I think parents struggle the most, is the anxiety going to school. And even in the Brave book that we did, she says, like, a lot of times parents do this part wrong. And what that could be is when your child is anxious about school, like you were saying, and then it turns into, well, now my stomach hurts really bad going to school, so I can't go to school. Or now I don't have any friends at school, or all of these things. And then now the parents are catering to that worry part of our brain because the child's freaking out and they're making it, okay, well, you don't have to go to school. Okay, well, let's see if the public school will go half days. Okay, and all along, are we teaching the child to go from the worry part of our brain to the front part? Or are we just letting them live in the worry? We're letting them live in the worry.
So if your child has been dealing with this for quite a while, over 6 months, if it's debilitating, if it's affecting daily life, they won't get out of bed, they won't go to school, then, you know, I would really encourage you to get some outside help because probably they've learned to manipulate you. They have played to your emotions and your soft spot is the mommy, right? Mommy,
about that one before.
my belly's bad, right? And I'm going to get sick and I'm going to pass out, whatever. Like, get some outside help so that they can help you work through these as a parent and with your child. So let's take a look at some practical advice moving forward for parents, because really I'm sure this show is going to resonate with a lot of parents. So what do we want to leave parents with that are practical tools?
One that I had that just kind of went with what you and Bridgitte were saying was to avoid extreme responses. And this is not me saying to avoid your child's emotions or thoughts. What I'm saying is don't be on the extreme side of like coddling your child or giving in to their every want and need just for a temporary comfort. So like not sending them to school, because in the long run, it's just not gonna, you know, like Bridgitte said, it's feeding that
and
worry.
They're gonna learn like, this works.
And that's how that's how they learn to manipulate you. Like, oh, if I'm really anxious, I don't have to go to school today. And
or
mom,
online. We have a lot of teenagers who have like, I want to go online. I want to go online, AKA anxiety.
And that's the worst thing I feel like that you can do, like truly, because then eventually you might get to the point where you're going to send your kid back to the public school, and what is that mountain going to be, you know?
Or get a job. Oh, I can't get a job. I don't want to get my license. Like, it goes on and on and on. We just kick the can down the road. And so, and COVID really opened this door, I think.
Absolutely.
And it created a lot of extra anxiety that we didn't have before. And so it kind of created this perfect storm of like, oh, perfect, I can't go to school. And now it's like, oh, well, we did it for COVID, so we can do it now. No, it's not healthy.
I feel like I'm putting you on the spot, Linda, but last night at the
Families Rock,
you guys talked a lot about like partnering with the school, because I think a lot of times when we have kids who are anxious, the parent is like, it's almost feeling like the parent and the kid is on one side of the table, the school's on the other. And so, can you go over the advice that you would get that you gave last night?
Well, I'm just saying, we don't do our kids any favors when we gang up against the principal, the teacher, the resource officer, the police, whoever. I mean, you've got to create a united front with all the authority in your child's life, whether it be a coach, a teacher. I'm not saying that they don't make mistakes, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to be beneficial to your child for them to say, and again, if you disagree with a decision a teacher made or a coach made, you talk to them in private. You don't go, I'll talk to them, or you talk to them in front of the child. You're really showing division. You're really showing like you can undermine authority. And so, yes, if your child's anxious and they don't want to go to school, the first call needs to be to their teacher and just say, hey, I'm having a hard time getting Susie to school. Do you have any idea why? Maybe it is because they failed a test, or there's this mean kid in their class, or whatever. They have to run in gym. I don't know. That was mine. I hated it when we had to run the mile.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm
the
sick.
worst.
You know, but maybe there's a simple solution, and you can partner together to help the child. Don't make it the teacher's fault. Oh, why? He is a mean teacher this year.
Yes.
He's going to have mean people in his life.
Yeah, I remember being in the counselor role before this at the school, and it always felt like we were walking on eggshells kind of thing, you know, where we're willing to offer additional support as much as we can. But at the end of the day, like, there's 500 kids, one counselor, one, like, so I feel like you have to think about that too. Like, your child's not the first child who has felt this anxious about coming to school. So if the school is wanting to partner with you while also providing like expectations and boundaries, like, that's where you can come in too, and also follow those at home, because that's where I feel like it gets so hard for the school too, because then it's just like, oh, what can we do? I feel like the one thing advice that I was going to mention was looking at your family schedule. Like, this is something I see a lot with the teens that I work with, middle school girls, kids in general. We recognize that, okay, they've spent so long worrying, they're training their brain, this is how we respond now. But then when we as parents can point this out and speak truth into them, their schedules might be so jammed packed, like school all day, then picked up, go to basketball practice, picked up, go to religion, picked up, go wherever, that when do they truly have time to start teaching their brain the right way to respond? And so I think that's being in this position too, that's one thing that I feel like is a barrier that I see a lot, is we spend this time with these kids to teach them these things. They're recognizing it, but they don't have any time to like put these things in place.
I would rather you have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old that you toss ball in the backyard with. And let them run around with kicking a soccer ball, then stick them on a team where they're going to literally sit on the base and pick the weeds.
We had that last year.
Why are we doing that? It is so ridiculous. And we just create this anxiety in them. And we think it's cute because we can get pictures, we can invite grandma and grandpa. But honestly, guys, we are overscheduling our kids. And we have bought the lie of our society that makes you a good parent. That they are in 4 different sports in every season of the year and every night of the week, and we're not doing our kids any favors.
And then you're pushing like bedtime back, and you're not eating dinner together.
We're eating Wendy's in the car and the drive-through. It's just not healthy.
And I feel like like the older the kids get, you talk about this too, so maybe we're really going to promote you all going to the family at Lawrenceburg that we talked about, but you guys talk about this too, like, we all know, I know when I'm pushed to my max, like, and I get home, I'm drained, you know, and what do? We doom scroll on our phones. And then we're not giving our attention to our child. Our child's going to their room because they also haven't had any time to decompress. So I hope you recognize that everyone is on their own. So just look, I feel like that's the biggest thing. Look at your schedule. I feel like more times than not, your family just needs to take something out.
Evaluate as a family. So that's number 1. Number 2, Jenna, why don't you speak? You just mentioned about Connor asking for prayer. So what would be another tool that parents can put in their toolbox tonight?
So I would say model and encourage prayer and godly affirmations. So something as simple as even like teaching your kid when they feel those anxious, like that anxious feeling or worried, just saying like, God is with me, I am safe. And something is them remembering that and truly believing it and repeating it to themselves can actually just like flip their mindset.
Yeah. I remember our oldest two, which again, we're going way back here, probably 25, 30 years. Veggie Tales were big.
Oh, yes.
We watched Veggie
Our
Tales.
kids loved this song, God is Bigger Than the Boogeyman.
Yes.
And they would
Such a
run
good one.
around all day long. God is bigger than the boogeyman. He's bigger than Godzilla or the monsters on TV. Okay, I won't do any more. But the point is
Please
that
keep going.
that was a reel in their head
Yes.
Yeah.
that they would recite when they were jumping into bed in the dark, right?
Yes.
Because it talked about the boogeyman under your bed or whatever. And the fact that they heard the truth, God is bigger.
Yeah.
And that's what we've got to help our kids through reading scripture. Like we had a beginner Bible. We would read a story every night, pray with them about the fire robbers, tornadoes, and floods, and getting sick or whatever.
Yeah.
So that is huge, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, and that skill, and then I'll go back on to the other one. What you were just talking about, like when we're putting in tips, like we're going to start reciting this verse or singing this song in our head. Like it might not work at first, you know, because your brain is so used to running the other way that it's going to take some time. So just because it's not working the first few times doesn't mean you should give up. Like I feel like we see that a lot. Like the box breathing doesn't work, I'm done with that, you know. Which I was not bought onto that at first either. But
And talk about that because we didn't talk
box
about
breathing. Yeah, so there's different techniques you can do, and box breathing would be you could like take your finger and draw a square on your leg, for example, and like inhale on one line, exhale on the next line while you're creating a shape. There's exercise. Merle would be so proud of us for saying this. Like exercise is very important for anxiety, and there's so many different things like verses we were just talking about, but I just want you to like hear me out that it's going to take time. You have to keep doing this for a while. Don't just throw in the towel because it's not working.
You're replacing that stinking thinking.
Yes.
How about healthy relationships, healthy community, Bridgitte? Speak to that, how that's important for our kids.
Yeah, I would say, so our other one is model healthy relationships and healthy community for your children. So when we talk about co-rumination, for example, we have people in our lives, like I feel like our community in Batesville is our example of that. We have people in our lives, and that's the purpose of it. Like if Berkeley is going through something that like we're trying to speak truth into these worries, but it's not getting her anywhere, and you guys talk on this too, then we have other people that she could go to, and we know they will give her sound, solid Christian advice. But also just we talked about this, like modeling what a healthy relationship looks like. When we're worried about something, okay, I will pray for you, or let me speak scripture into that worry. I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, tell me more. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is modeling it. So I want you to be aware of like co-rumination in your own life.
So let's wrap up here and kind of review what we talked about. What I'm hearing you say is avoid the extremes, okay? The sky is not falling. Your child is not dying. They will be able to build resilience if you don't overreact.
Yes.
Okay? That we need to surround ourselves with healthy people that are going to focus on the positives and the healthy and not ruminate with you and kind of pull you down into that rabbit hole. I'm hearing God's word is super important, that we want to memorize God's word. We want to pray together. We want to encourage them with truth, because the stinking thinking can get you wrapped around the axle. And if we replace the lies with truth, then we're going to have, and then I'm hearing also from both of you, we got to model it.
Yes.
We have to teach them self-regulation. You cannot lose your ever-loving mind every time you have a bad day or when things don't go your way. Okay? You got to show the kids. And when you do lose it, which we all have, you got to say to your kids, hey guys, I'm sorry. That was wrong of me. Or that was not the way I should have handled that. You got to show them, I'm learning too. Okay? Because we're not looking for perfect people. We're not perfect parents. This is not the Girl Power Half Hour perfect show.
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
Yes.
No.
But these are
definitely not.
experiences that we've had in our own lives and the families that we work with that we think would really help you. Any last words that you want to share?
Well, I feel like Sissy Goff like put some good quotes in her book, but the one I want to share that she had said was, don't let a place where you've gotten stuck become a place where you live. I would love for you to say that over your child.
Say
like, don't let a place where you've gotten stuck become a place where you live. Like, what kind of authority would that and empowerment would that give to your child if you say, like, I know you're stuck right now, but we're not going to live here. I'm not going to let you stay right here. You know, like that helps them feel seen, loved, and know that good is coming.
Yes. I love 2 Corinthians 10:5. It's one of my favorites. And it says, we demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. And we take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. And so let's help our kids to take captive the thoughts, the runaway thoughts, the dooming thoughts, and to make them obedient to Christ. What does God's word say?
Yeah.
What does God want for us? What does Christ model for us? And man, mom, dad, that would be so powerful to teach that to a child young so that when they're older, they take that with them wherever they go.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's no greater gift, honestly, to help them to live and really sink into the truth instead of getting run away and mowed over by the lies.
Yeah.
Can I recommend a book?
Sure.
So they have a boys and a girls version. If you have younger children, I think it's for like kids 8 and under maybe. You can find it on Amazon, but it's just the Veggie Tales, 365 devotions for boys or 365 devotions for girls. And we usually read a devotion a couple nights a week. But I read him something every night, and he's always like, another devotion? I'm like, yes. But it's crazy, like, how sometimes, like, it is able to relate to the things that little kids worry about.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it has a thought of the day that they can work through that thought and the prayer and the scripture that they read. So it's very applicable.
And again, it's really hard to sit down with 66 books of the Bible and read them to a 5-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like I said, I learned the Bible by the beginner Bible. It was just a little short picture book.
Yeah.
And it had very elementary stories in it, like Daniel in the Lion's Den or David and Goliath or Noah's in Ark. And honestly, that's how I learned.
Yeah.
That's how we learn together as a family. So wherever you're at, God will meet you there.
Yes.
But He is the author of peace. He is the perfecter of joy. And so we're just asking you to invite Him into your family. And if this is all new to you, if you don't know about this God who loves you and this God's word that is truth, come check us out at rocksolidfamilies.org. We'd love to walk alongside you and help you and your family find that peace and joy that comes only through Christ. So ladies, thank you so much for joining us, joining
Thank
me.
you for coming back.
Yeah, thanks for welcoming me back, for Girl Power Half Hour. And we hope this has been helpful for you. If you got help from this show, please share it.
Yeah.
Please post it, reshare it on our website, on our Facebook page. We would love for you to comment. We would love for you to subscribe to our channel. I know the marketing director would like that.
Yes.
And our Instagram account. And leave a review. We would love to hear from you. So thank you so much. We want to thank our sponsors, Maxwell Construction, Casey's Outdoor Solution, and the Hoosier Ice House for the support of Rock Solid Families and the Rock Solid Families podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the Rock Solid Families podcast, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day.
Rock Solid Families wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast. Casey's has grown to be one of the largest and most unique garden centers and gift shops in the Cincinnati tri-state area. Whether you are looking to take on that next landscape project or simply add a little home decor to your house, Casey's has you covered. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Call them today at 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home. Rock Solid Families wants to thank Maxwell Construction for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast. For over 30 years, Maxwell Construction has been a leader in turning dreams into realities, building schools, banks, restaurants, and many other commercial and public facilities. Maxwell Construction has made it their priority to not just build buildings, but to build into their community. So if you have any construction needs, call them at 812-537-2200.
Rock Solid Families would like to thank Hoosier Ice House for being a proud sponsor of the Rock Solid Families podcast. In the heart of historic Lawrenceburg, Indiana, the Ice House is at the corner of Vine and High Streets. The historic building evokes a feeling of comfort with spacious indoor and outdoor dining, a large bar, and comfortable dining areas. Large enough to host parties, yet intimate enough to feel like your favorite neighborhood restaurant. So thank you again for the Hoosier Ice House for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast.